How 300 Spartans fought off thousands, truth or myth. The story of the 300 Spartans and their legendary stand against a vastly larger Persian army at the Battle of Thermopylae has fascinated historians, filmmakers, and the general public for centuries. How much of this tale is rooted in historical fact, and how much is myth? To understand this, we must delve into the context, the characters, and the sources that recount this epic encounter. The Battle of Thermopylae took place in 480 BCE during the Second Persian invasion of Greece. King Xerxes III of Persia, seeking to conquer all of Greece, amassed an enormous army and navy. Estimates of the size of the Persian force vary widely, but ancient sources like Herodotus claim numbers as high as 2 million soldiers, though modern historians suggest a more realistic figure of around 100,000 to 150,000 troops. In response, a coalition of Greek city-states, led by King Leonidas of Sparta, decided to make a stand at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, a strategic choke point that would neutralize the numerical advantage of the Persian forces. The Greek force consisted of approximately 7,000 men, including the famous 300 Spartans, who were handpicked by Leonidas and were accompanied by their helots, servants. The Spartans were renowned for their military discipline, rigorous training, and unwavering commitment to their city-state. The agoge, the Spartan education and training system, molded boys from a young age into formidable warriors. By the time they reached adulthood, Spartans were masters of close-quarters combat, endurance, and strategic warfare. Leonidas chose Thermopylae as the battleground because its geography offered a significant tactical advantage. The pass, located between the mountains and the sea, was only about 50 feet wide at its narrowest point. This terrain meant that the Persians could not use their superior numbers to outflank the Greek forces and had to face them head-on in a confined space. The Spartans, along with their allies, used the narrow pass to their advantage, employing their phalanx formation, a tight, rectangular infantry formation that was nearly impenetrable from the front. The Greek soldiers, armed with long spears and heavy shields, were able to inflict heavy casualties on the Persian forces. On the third day of the battle, however, a local Greek named Ephialtes betrayed the defenders by revealing a secret path that allowed the Persians to flank the Greek position. Realizing that their position was now untenable, Leonidas dismissed most of the Greek troops, choosing to stay behind with his 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and 400 Thebans to make a final stand. The Spartans and their allies fought valiantly but were eventually overwhelmed by the Persian forces. According to Herodotus, Leonidas was killed early in the fighting, and the remaining Greeks were surrounded and killed by a barrage of arrows. The Persian victory at Thermopylae allowed them to advance further into Greece, but the heroic stand of the Spartans provided a significant morale boost to the Greek forces and delayed the Persian advance long enough for the Greeks to regroup. The Battle of Thermopylae has become a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and the fight for freedom against overwhelming odds. The story of the 300 Spartans has been romanticized and mythologized over the centuries, often overshadowing the contributions of the other Greek soldiers who fought and died alongside them. It is important to remember that the battle was not just fought by 300 Spartans, but by a coalition of Greek city-states united against a common enemy. Herodotus, often called the father of history, provides the most detailed account of the Battle of Thermopylae. However, his writings were composed several decades after the events, and his tendency to include anecdotal and exaggerated elements means that his account should be read with caution. Other ancient sources, such as Plutarch and Diodorus Siculus, also provide accounts of the battle, but these too must be critically assessed for their historical accuracy. Modern historians have attempted to separate fact from fiction by analyzing archaeological evidence, studying the logistics of ancient warfare, and cross-referencing ancient texts. It is clear that the stand at Thermopylae was a remarkable feat of bravery and tactical skill. The exact details of the battle remain the subject of debate. One of the enduring myths about the battle is the size of the Persian army. Herodotus' claim of 2 million soldiers is widely regarded as an exaggeration, and most modern estimates place the Persian force at a fraction of that number. Similarly, the notion that the Spartans fought alone against the entire Persian army is a simplification of the actual events. The contributions of the Thespians, Thebans, and other Greek soldiers were crucial to the defense of the pass. The legacy of the Battle of Thermopylae extends beyond its immediate military significance. The story of the 300 Spartans has been immortalized in literature, art, and film, inspiring countless works and becoming a symbol of resistance against tyranny. The famous phrase "Molin Labe," translated as "come and take them," attributed to Leonidas in response to the Persian demand to surrender their weapons, has become a rallying cry for those who champion the cause of liberty and defiance. In popular culture, the Battle of Thermopylae has been depicted in various ways, most notably in the 1962 film, The 300 Spartans, and the 2006 graphic novel and film, 300 by Frank Miller and Zack Snyder. These adaptations, while visually striking and entertaining, often take creative liberties with historical accuracy, emphasizing the heroic and dramatic aspects of the story. The real significance of the Battle of Thermopylae lies in its impact on the subsequent course of the Greco-Persian Wars. The delaying action of the Greek forces at Thermopylae allowed the city-states to prepare for further resistance. Following the Persian victory at Thermopylae, the Greek naval forces achieved a crucial victory at the Battle of Salamis, where the Athenian-led fleet decisively defeated the Persian navy. This victory was followed by the Battle of Plataea in 479 BCE, where a combined Greek force, including the Spartans, defeated the Persian army, effectively ending the Persian invasion. The Greco-Persian Wars had far-reaching consequences for the development of Western civilization. The Greek victories ensured the survival of the independent Greek city-states and their unique political, cultural, and intellectual traditions. The preservation of these traditions laid the foundation for the subsequent achievements of the classical Greek period, including advancements in philosophy, science, art, and governance. The Battle of Thermopylae also highlights the importance of leadership and the qualities that define effective leaders. And his decision to make a stand at Thermopylae, knowing the likely outcome, demonstrated his commitment to his people and his willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good. His leadership inspired his men to fight with unparalleled bravery and determination, leaving a lasting legacy of heroism. In examining the legacy of the 300 Spartans, it is essential to consider the broader context of Spartan society and its values. Sparta was a unique city-state with a rigidly structured society focused on military excellence. The agoge system, which trained boys to become warriors from a young age, produced soldiers who were disciplined, resilient, and loyal to their city-state. The Spartans' emphasis on duty, honor, and sacrifice shaped their approach to warfare and their willingness to face overwhelming odds. However, it is also important to acknowledge the complexities and contradictions of Spartan society. While the Spartans are often celebrated for their military prowess, their society was also characterized by strict social hierarchies, limited personal freedoms, and the subjugation of the helot population. The helots, who were essentially serfs, played a crucial role in supporting the Spartan economy and military, yet they were subjected to harsh treatment and exploitation. In the end, the story of the 300 Spartans is a blend of historical fact and mythological embellishment. The battle itself was a remarkable display of courage and tactical ingenuity, but it was not solely the achievement of the Spartans. The collective efforts of the Greek city-states, the strategic leadership of Leonidas, and the bravery of all the soldiers who fought at Thermopylae contributed to the enduring legacy of this iconic event. The fascination with the Battle of Thermopylae and the 300 Spartans continues to captivate audiences today. Their story serves as a powerful reminder of the human capacity for courage, sacrifice, and resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. As we reflect on this historical episode, it is crucial to appreciate the complexities and nuances of the past, recognizing both the heroism and the broader context in which these events unfolded. In conclusion, the tale of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae is a compelling blend of truth and myth. While certain aspects of the story have been romanticized and exaggerated over time, the core narrative of bravery and resistance remains a testament to the enduring human spirit. The Battle of Thermopylae stands as a symbol of the fight for freedom, the power of leadership, and the impact of collective action. Whether viewed through the lens of history or myth, the legacy of the 300 Spartans continues to inspire and resonate across generations. Why Spartan captains fought in the front lines, madness or genius? The ancient city-state of Sparta is renowned for its military prowess and unique social system. Among the many distinctive features of Spartan warfare, one stands out prominently: the practice of having captains or leaders fight in the front lines of battle. This approach raises an intriguing question. Was this strategy a display of sheer madness or a stroke of military genius? To understand this, we need to delve deep into Spartan society, their military training, and the psychological and tactical advantages this practice offered. Spartan society and the agoge. To comprehend why Spartan captains led from the front, it's essential to understand Spartan society and the agoge, the rigorous education and training regime mandatory for all male Spartans. From the age of 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families and placed in the agoge system. This brutal training program aimed to instill discipline, endurance, and martial skills. They were taught to endure hardship, pain, and hunger, making them resilient warriors. The agoge did not just produce skilled fighters, it created a cohesive unit of soldiers who valued loyalty, bravery, and self-sacrifice. By the time a Spartan male reached adulthood, he had been molded into a formidable warrior, fully committed to the collective well-being of Sparta. Societal structure ensured that every Spartan soldier, including their leaders, shared this unyielding dedication to their city-state. Leadership by example in Spartan culture. The concept of leadership by example was paramount. This principle was deeply ingrained in their way of life and was a fundamental reason why captains fought in the front lines. Unlike other Greek city-states, where commanders often directed from the rear, Spartan leaders believed that their presence at the front would inspire their troops and reinforce the values they had been taught. Captain fighting alongside his men demonstrated unparalleled courage and commitment. This act of bravery was not just symbolic. It had a tangible impact on the morale and performance of the Spartan soldiers. Seeing their leaders share the same risks and hardships fortified the bond between the soldiers and their commanders, creating a unified and motivated fighting force. Psychological impact on the enemy. The presence of Spartan captains in the front lines also had a significant psychological impact on their enemies. In ancient warfare, morale played a crucial role in determining the outcome of battles. The sight of Spartan leaders fighting fiercely at the forefront could demoralize opposing troops, who often viewed their own commanders safely positioned at the rear. This stark contrast underscored the Spartans' unwavering resolve and could induce fear and hesitation among their adversaries. Moreover, Spartan captains were not just any leaders. They were elite warriors, often the best fighters in their unit. Their presence at the front meant that the initial clash of battle would pit the most skilled Spartan soldiers against the enemy's front ranks, potentially breaking their lines and causing chaos from the outset. Beyond the psychological and symbolic benefits, there were several tactical advantages to having Spartan captains fight in the front lines. One key advantage was the immediate decision-making capability. In the heat of battle, circumstances could change rapidly. A commander at the front had a better vantage point and could make swift tactical adjustments based on the unfolding situation. This ability to respond dynamically to battlefield developments was a significant asset. Additionally, the frontline position allowed captains to directly influence the combat effectiveness of their troops. They could provide immediate support, encourage faltering soldiers, and even take the lead in critical moments. This hands-on leadership style ensured that Spartan units maintained cohesion and effectiveness even under the most intense conditions. Cultural and ideological underpinnings. The practice of leading from the front was also deeply rooted in Spartan cultural and ideological beliefs. The Spartans held the warrior ethos in the highest regard, and their society was built around the principles of honor, bravery, and sacrifice. The idea that a leader should share the same risks as his men was a natural extension of these values. In Spartan culture, dying in battle was considered the highest honor. The epitaph of a fallen Spartan soldier, "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here obedient to their laws we lie," reflects the collective commitment to their city-state. Captains fighting in the front lines exemplified this ultimate dedication to Sparta, reinforcing the cultural norm that personal sacrifice for the greater good was the noblest of deeds. Comparative perspective. Other Greek city-states. To fully appreciate the uniqueness of the Spartan approach, it's useful to compare it with the military practices of other Greek city-states. In Athens, for example, generals or strategoi typically commanded from the rear or a central position, overseeing the battlefield and coordinating larger strategic movements. While this approach had its advantages, it often distanced commanders from the immediate combat experience of their troops. The Athenian model placed a premium on strategic oversight and communication, which was essential for managing the often larger and more complex armies of the Athenian League. However, it lacked the immediate motivational impact of having leaders share the frontline risks with their soldiers. This difference highlights the contrasting military philosophies between Sparta and other Greek city-states, with the Spartans emphasizing direct engagement and personal valor. Case study. The Battle of Thermopylae. One of the most iconic examples of Spartan leadership in battle is the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BCE. King Leonidas III of Sparta, along with 300 Spartans and a few thousand allied Greeks, made a legendary stand against the vastly superior Persian forces, led by Xerxes of Igliui. Leonidas fought at the front lines, exemplifying the Spartan ideal of leadership. By example, the courage and determination displayed by Leonidas and his men, fighting to the death despite overwhelming odds, became a symbol of heroic resistance and sacrifice. Their stand at Thermopylae had profound psychological and strategic impacts, boosting Greek morale and delaying the Persian advance, allowing the Greek city-states to prepare for further resistance, challenges, and risks. Despite its many advantages, the practice of leading from the front was not without its challenges and risks. The most obvious risk was the potential loss of leadership. A captain fighting in the front lines was more vulnerable to injury or death, which could lead to a sudden and potentially destabilizing leadership vacuum during critical moments of battle. To mitigate this risk, Spartan military organization included clear chains of command and succession plans. Even if a captain fell, another leader was ready to step in and continue the fight. This organizational resilience was a testament to the thoroughness of Spartan military planning and their understanding of the inherent dangers of their leadership style. On Spartan leadership, the concept of leaders sharing the same risks and hardships as their subordinates is not confined to ancient Sparta. In modern military theory and practice, the value of leaders leading by example is widely recognized. Officers who demonstrate bravery and a willingness to share the dangers of combat often inspire greater loyalty and performance from their troops. In contemporary organizational and business contexts, the principles of Spartan leadership can also find relevance. Leaders who are willing to engage directly with their teams, understand their challenges firsthand, and demonstrate a commitment to shared goals often foster stronger, more cohesive, and motivated teams. Conclusion: madness or genius? So was the practice of Spartan captains fighting in the front lines madness or genius? The answer lies in a nuanced understanding of Spartan society, culture, and military strategy. While it undoubtedly carried significant risks, the practice was deeply embedded in the Spartan way of life and offered considerable psychological, tactical, and symbolic advantages. The courage and commitment displayed by Spartan leaders not only inspired their troops, but also instilled fear and uncertainty in their enemies. This leadership style reinforced the core values of Spartan society, ensuring that every soldier, from the lowest ranks to the highest, was bound by a shared sense of duty and honor. In the end, the genius of this approach lay in its ability to unify and motivate the Spartan warriors, creating one of the most formidable military forces of the ancient world. The legacy of Spartan leadership continues to be a source of fascination and inspiration, illustrating the timeless power of leading by example. Why Spartan banquets were more than just eating. Spartan society is often remembered for its rigorous military training, austere lifestyle, and formidable warriors. However, one of the most intriguing aspects of Spartan life is their communal banquets, known as syssitia. Banquets were far more than just occasions for eating. They were vital to the fabric of Spartan society, serving as a microcosm of Spartan values, discipline, and social structure. To understand why Spartan banquets were more than just eating, we need to delve into the intricacies of these gatherings and the roles they played in shaping and maintaining the unique Spartan identity. The term syssitia refers to the communal meals that were a cornerstone of Spartan life. Participation in these banquets was mandatory for all male citizens, from the age of 20 until death. The syssitia were not simply social events but were considered a civic duty. Attendance was compulsory, and failure to participate could result in a loss of citizenship rights. This obligation underscores the importance of these gatherings in Spartan society. The syssitia were typically small, intimate groups of about 15 men, known as a fedition. These groups were often composed of men from different families and backgrounds, reinforcing the idea that loyalty to Sparta transcended familial ties. The composition of the fedition was designed to promote camaraderie, equality, and shared responsibility among its members, reflecting the broader egalitarian principles of Spartan society. The Spartan syssitia were a powerful tool for fostering unity and equality among the citizenry. In a society where individuality was often suppressed in favor of the collective, the syssitia served as a daily reminder of the importance of communal living. The food consumed at these banquets was simple and unpretentious, reflecting the Spartan ethos of austerity and self-discipline. The most famous dish was the black broth, melis zomos, a concoction made from pork, blood, vinegar, and salt. While it might not have been the most palatable, its very simplicity was a testament to Spartan values. Everyone, regardless of wealth or status, was expected to contribute an equal share to the communal meal. This practice ensured that no one was above another within the syssitia, reinforcing the idea that all Spartans were equal before the law and in their obligations to the state. The communal nature of the meals also meant that resources were pooled, ensuring that everyone, even the less wealthy, could participate fully in the syssitia. The syssitia were not just about eating. They were a form of training in themselves. The banquets were an extension of the Spartan agoge, the rigorous education and training system that young Spartans underwent. During these meals, Spartans were expected to display self-control, discipline, and a readiness to respond to orders, qualities essential for a warrior society. Conversations at the syssitia often revolved around military matters, strategy, and the art of war. The older and more experienced warriors would impart their knowledge and experience to the younger men, ensuring that the lessons of battle were passed down through the generations. This oral tradition was crucial in a society that prized martial prowess above all else. Moreover, the syssitia provided a setting where young Spartans could observe and emulate the behavior of their elders. Respect for authority, the ability to speak concisely, and the importance of listening were all reinforced during these gatherings. In essence, the syssitia were a continuation of the agoge, where the training never truly ended. In a society as tightly knit as Sparta, social cohesion was paramount. The syssitia played a crucial role in maintaining this cohesion by breaking down barriers between individuals meals, and reinforcing a collective identity. The banquets were a space where differences in wealth, family background, and personal achievement were set aside in favor of a shared identity as Spartans. This collective identity was particularly important in the context of the Spartan army, which relied on close coordination and mutual trust between soldiers. The Syssitia were instrumental in building and maintaining this trust. By sharing meals, stories, and experiences, Spartans forged bonds that would serve them well on the battlefield. Additionally, the Syssitia served as a forum for decision-making and consensus building. While the Spartan government was famously oligarchic, with power concentrated in the hands of a few, the Syssitia allowed for a more democratic exchange of ideas among the citizenry. Decisions affecting the Fedition, and sometimes the wider community, were often discussed and debated over the communal meal. This practice helped to ensure that the interests of the group were aligned and that all voices were heard. The Syssitia were also a crucial mechanism for instilling and reinforcing Spartan virtues. Chief among these was the concept of andreia, or manliness, which encompassed qualities such as bravery, self-discipline, and loyalty to the state. The banquets were a space where these virtues were not only discussed but also practiced. One of the ways this was achieved was through the practice of pais propolemistou, or boy beside the warrior. This practice involved pairing a young Spartan with an older, more experienced warrior. The young Spartan would serve his mentor during the Syssitia, learning from him through observation and interaction. This relationship was central to the transmission of Spartan values and the preparation of the younger generation for the responsibilities of citizenship and warfare. The Syssitia also emphasized the importance of sophrosyne, or moderation. The simple fare served at the banquets was a constant reminder of the value of self-restraint. Excess and indulgence were frowned upon, and the communal nature of the meals meant that no one could take more than their fair share. This practice not only reinforced the principle of equality, but also ensured that Spartans remained focused on the collective good rather than individual desires. While the Syssitia were predominantly male affairs, Spartan women also played a role in the broader culture of communal meals. Unlike in many other Greek city-states, Spartan women had a relatively high degree of autonomy and were expected to participate in public life. They were responsible for managing the household and ensuring that their contributions to the Syssitia were of high quality. Moreover, Spartan women were known for their forthrightness and influence in Spartan society. Although they did not participate in the Syssitia themselves, their presence was felt through the quality of the provisions they supplied. The expectations placed on women to contribute to the communal meal were a reflection of their importance in maintaining the stability and well-being of the Spartan states. The Syssitia were not just social or military gatherings, they also had deep cultural and religious significance. Many of the rituals and customs observed during the Syssitia were linked to the worship of the gods, particularly Apollo, who was revered as the god of the Spartans. The banquets often included libations and prayers, underscoring the connection between the Syssitia and the divine. The Syssitia also played a role in reinforcing the social hierarchy and the distinction between Spartans and non-Spartans. Helots, the enslaved population of Sparta, were responsible for much of the agricultural work that supported the Syssitia. Their labor ensured that the Spartans could maintain their lifestyle of communal meals and military training. This dynamic highlighted the dependence of the Spartan elite on the helot class, even as the Syssitia served to strengthen the bonds among Spartan citizens. As with many aspects of Spartan society, the Syssitia eventually declined as Sparta's power waned. The strict adherence to the communal lifestyle began to erode, particularly after the catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BC. This defeat marked the beginning of the end for Sparta as a dominant military power, and with it, the decline of many of its traditional practices, including the Syssitia. The loss of wealth and territory, combined with increasing internal strife, made it difficult for Spartans to maintain the rigorous standards of the Syssitia. The communal meals, once a symbol of Spartan unity and discipline, became less frequent and less significant. By the Hellenistic period, the Syssitia had largely faded into history, replaced by more individualistic and indulgent practices that would have been anathema to the Spartans of earlier generations. Despite their decline, the Syssitia left a lasting legacy on both Sparta and the wider Greek world. The practice of communal meals influenced other Greek city-states, although none adopted it with the same rigor as the Spartans. The Syssitia also provided a model of communal living that would later be reflected in various monastic and military communities throughout history. In modern times, the Syssitia have been romanticized as a symbol of Spartan equality, discipline, and collective strength. While the reality was undoubtedly more complex, the ideal of the Syssitia continues to capture the imagination of those interested in ancient history and the unique society that was Sparta. The Syssitia were a microcosm of Spartan society, embodying its values, virtues, and contradictions. They were more than just eating. They were a way of life, a training ground, and a means of reinforcing the social order. Through the Syssitia, Spartans learned what it meant to be a citizen, a soldier, and a part of something greater than themselves. In understanding the Syssitia, we gain a deeper insight into what made Sparta one of the most remarkable and enigmatic societies of the ancient world. The odd Spartan practice of helot racing was one of the most curious and disturbing aspects of Spartan society, a civilization renowned for its militaristic rigor and the harsh treatment of its enslaved population, the helots. This peculiar and brutal tradition was deeply intertwined with the values and social structures of Sparta, reflecting the complexities and contradictions of this ancient Greek city-state. To understand helot racing, it is essential to first grasp the broader context of Spartan society. Sparta was one of the most powerful city-states in ancient Greece, known primarily for its military prowess and the austere lifestyle of its citizens. The Spartans, or Spartiates, were a warrior class dedicated from birth to the art of war. Their entire society was structured to support this singular focus, with the helots playing a crucial, if tragic, role in this system. The helots were a subjugated population primarily composed of the indigenous peoples of Laconia and Messenia, regions conquered by the Spartans. Unlike typical slaves in other Greek states, helots were not individually owned. Instead, they were considered the property of the Spartan state, working the land and producing the food necessary to sustain the Spartan citizenry. This allowed the Spartiates to focus entirely on military training and governance, leaving the menial labor to the helots. However, the helots vastly outnumbered the Spartans, leading to a society that was constantly on edge, paranoid about potential uprisings. To maintain control over this large and potentially rebellious population, the Spartans employed a system of extreme oppression. Helot racing was one of the many ways in which the Spartans exercised their dominance over the helots, both physically and psychologically. Helot racing, as the name suggests, involved races, but these were not the kind of competitive, festive events one might imagine in other cultures. Instead, these races were designed to humiliate and degrade the helots, reinforcing their subservient status and reminding them of their powerlessness. The exact nature of these races varied, but they were typically brutal and dehumanizing. In some accounts, helot racing involved forcing the helots to run long distances while burdened with heavy weights or other encumbrances. The races were designed to be grueling, testing the physical limits of the helots, often to the point of collapse. In other variations, the races were more like deadly hunts, where the helots were pursued by Spartans on horseback or armed with weapons, turning the event into a life or death struggle. The races were deliberately made unfair, with the helots at a severe disadvantage, ensuring that the spectacle emphasized their inferiority. The purpose of helot racing was multifaceted. On one level, it was a method of control, a way to break the spirit of the helots and prevent them from rebelling. By subjecting them to such brutal treatment in a public setting, the Spartans sent a clear message to the helots. Resistance was futile, and their role was to serve. The races also served as a form of entertainment for the Spartans, a grim reminder of their own superiority and the rigid social hierarchy that defined their society. Helot racing was more than just a display of power. It was also a ritual of fear. The Spartans lived in constant dread of a helot uprising, and by regularly humiliating and terrorizing the helots, they believed they could keep them in a state of perpetual submission. This fear was not unfounded. There were several instances in Spartan history where the helots did rise up, leading to brutal reprisals from the Spartans. One of the most infamous practices related to the control of the helots was the cryptia, a secretive Spartan institution that functioned as both a form of internal policing and a rite of passage for young Spartan men. The cryptia involved sending young Spartans into the countryside with the explicit mission to kill helots who were deemed a threat, particularly those who were strong, intelligent, or otherwise influential. This practice further reinforced the terror and control the Spartans exerted over the helots, and was closely linked to the same mentality that underpinned helot racing. Helot racing can also be understood as part of the broader Spartan educational and socialization system, known as the agoge. The agoge was a rigorous program of training and indoctrination that all Spartan males underwent from a young age, designed to produce the ideal warrior citizens. It was not just about physical training, but also about instilling the values of Spartan society, including loyalty to the state, contempt for weakness, and the importance of maintaining Spartan supremacy. In this context, helot racing served as a grim lesson for young Spartans, teaching them that the helots were not to be seen as fellow human beings, but as subordinates, existing only to serve the needs of Sparta. It reinforced the idea that the helots were lesser beings, whose suffering was not only acceptable but necessary to preserve the Spartan way of life. The cruelty of helot racing was a reflection of the harshness of Spartan society as a whole, where the survival and success of the state were placed above all else, even basic human compassion. The psychological impact of helot racing on both the helots and the Spartans must have been profound. For the helots, these races were a constant reminder of their subjugation and the futility of any attempt at rebellion. The physical and emotional toll of such treatment would have been immense, contributing to a deep sense of despair and hopelessness. For the Spartans, participating in or witnessing these races was a way of reinforcing their own identity as warriors, superior to the helots in every way. It was also a means of confronting their own fears of helot insurrection by actively engaging in the oppression of the very people they feared. The practice of helot racing, like many aspects of Spartan society, was ultimately rooted in the need to maintain control over over a subjugated population. The helots were essential to the Spartan economy, providing the labor that allowed the Spartans to devote themselves to military training and governance. However, their sheer numbers made them a constant threat, necessitating a system of extreme repression. Helot racing was just one of the many ways in which the Spartans sought to keep the helots in check, using fear and humiliation as tools of domination. The legacy of helot racing is a reminder of the darker aspects of Spartan society, which is often idealized in popular culture for its military discipline and heroism. While the Spartans were undoubtedly fierce warriors, their society was also one of extreme inequality and brutality. The treatment of the helots, including practices like helot racing, reveals the moral costs of maintaining such a rigid and oppressive social order. Helot racing was a part of the ancient Olympic Games, influencing modern Olympic events and the concept of competitive sports. The practice of helot racing highlights the complex social hierarchy of ancient Sparta, where slaves, helots, were forced to participate in events for the entertainment of their masters, influencing modern discussions on slavery and social inequality. The concept of helot racing has been referenced in Greek philosophy, particularly in the works of Aristotle, who discussed the ethics of slavery and the treatment of helots, influencing modern philosophical debates on morality and ethics. Helot racing has been studied by modern historians and archaeologists, providing insights into ancient Greek athletics and the development of modern sport. The concept of helot racing has influenced modern sports and entertainment, with many events and competitions featuring enslaved or marginalized groups, such as gladiatorial combat and modern-day reality TV shows. Helot racing has been used as a metaphor for social commentary, with many modern authors and artists using the practice to critique modern social issues, such as racism and class inequality. Modern historical reenactments of ancient Spartan events, including helot racing, have become popular, providing a unique glimpse into ancient Greek culture and society. Excavations at ancient Spartan sites have uncovered evidence of helot racing, providing valuable insights into the daily lives and social structures of ancient Spartans. The practice of helot racing has been used as a symbol of modern-day slavery, with many organizations and activists using the term to highlight contemporary issues of human trafficking and exploitation. The film Gladiator, starring Russell Crowe, features a scene where slaves are forced to participate in a chariot race, echoing the practice of helot racing and its influence on modern filmmaking. The film 300, based on the Battle of Thermopylae, features a scene where helots are forced to participate in a chariot race, showcasing the practice's influence on modern filmmaking. The film Troy, based on Homer's Iliad, features a scene where slaves are forced to participate in a chariot race, showcasing the practice's influence on ancient Greek culture and its depiction in modern films. The TV series Spartacus, Blood and Sand, and the film Alexander, starring Colin Farrell, features a scene where slaves are forced to participate in a chariot race, echoing the practice of helot racing and its influence on ancient Greek culture. In the end, the odd Spartan practice of helot racing serves as a stark example of how power can corrupt, leading to the dehumanization of others in the pursuit of control. It is a sobering reminder that the achievements of a society should not be viewed in isolation from the suffering they may have caused. The Spartans may be remembered as great warriors, but their legacy is also marked by the cruelty they inflicted on those who lived in their shadow. The ritual behind a Spartan warrior's red cloak is a fascinating and intricate part of ancient Spartan culture, reflecting the values, beliefs, and practices that defined one of the most formidable military states in history. The red cloak, known as the phonikes, was not just a piece of attire. It was a symbol of honor, discipline, and readiness for battle. To understand the significance of the red cloak, we must delve into the life of a Spartan warrior, from childhood training to the battlefield. The journey to becoming a Spartan warrior was arduous and demanding, beginning with the agoge, the rigorous education and training regimen that every Spartan male underwent. The agoge was designed to instill discipline, physical strength, and unwavering loyalty to Sparta. At the age of 7, Spartan boys were taken from their families and placed in communal barracks where they lived under the supervision of older warriors. Their education focused on physical training, survival skills, and obedience. They were taught to endure pain, hunger, and hardship without complaint. This brutal training was essential in preparing them for the life of a soldier, where personal sacrifice for the greater good of Sparta was paramount. As these young boys grew and proved their mettle, they reached a pivotal moment in their training: the dedication of the red cloak. This ceremony was not only a rite of passage but also a profound symbol of their commitment to Sparta and its ideals. The cloak itself, dyed in vivid red, was chosen for its practical and symbolic purposes. Red was believed to mask bloodstains during battle, maintaining the morale of the warriors and the intimidation of their enemies. Symbolically, red represented the blood of their ancestors and their readiness to shed their own blood for Sparta. The dedication ceremony was a deeply spiritual and communal event, involving prayers, rituals, and the blessings of the gods. The young warrior stood before his peers, elders, and the ephors, the 5 elected officials who oversaw various aspects of Spartan life. The ephors would speak of the warrior's journey, his achievements, and the responsibilities that came with wearing the red cloak. It was a moment of immense pride and solemnity, marking the transition from boyhood to manhood, from trainee to warrior. Once the red cloak was bestowed, the warrior's life changed significantly. He was now part of the elite Spartan army, bound by a code of honor and duty. The red cloak served as a constant reminder of his vows and his place in society. It was worn in all aspects of life, from daily activities to the heat of battle. The sight of a Spartan phalanx, a tightly knit formation of warriors with their red cloaks billowing in the wind, was a powerful image that struck fear into their enemies and inspired awe in their allies. The red cloak also had practical implications on the battlefield. In the chaos of combat, the uniformity of the red cloaks helped maintain order and cohesion within the ranks. It allowed the Spartans to identify their comrades easily, fostering unity and discipline. The psychological impact on their enemies cannot be overstated. The sight of the red-cloaked warriors advancing with unyielding precision was often enough to demoralize opposing forces. Beyond the battlefield, the red cloak symbolized the warriors' adherence to Spartan values, austerity, resilience, and loyalty. Spartan society was built on these principles, and the red cloak was a visual representation of the warriors' dedication to upholding them. It was a badge of honor that commanded respect and admiration within the community. The rituals and traditions surrounding the red cloak extended into various aspects of Spartan life. For instance, the cloak played a role in funeral rites. When a Spartan warrior died, he was often buried with his red cloak, a final gesture of his unwavering service to Sparta. This practice underscored the profound connection between the warrior's identity and the symbol of the red cloak. Additionally, the red cloak was involved in ceremonial events and public gatherings. During religious festivals, warriors would don their cloaks and participate in processions, showcasing their strength and unity. These public displays reinforced the cultural importance of the red cloak and its role in fostering a collective identity among the Spartans. The red cloak also had an influence on Spartan women. Although they did not wear the cloak themselves, Spartan women played a crucial role in supporting and encouraging their sons and husbands. They were often the ones who crafted and maintained the cloaks, ensuring that each warrior's attire was in perfect condition. This involvement symbolized the interconnectedness of Spartan society, where every member contributed to the greater good. The red cloak's significance extended beyond the individual warrior to the broader context of Spartan diplomacy and politics. When engaging with other city-states, Spartan envoys would wear their red cloaks, a subtle yet powerful reminder of their military prowess and the disciplined society they represented. This visual symbol helped establish and maintain Spartan influence and respect in the wider Greek world. In the annals of history, the red cloak remains an enduring symbol of Spartan legacy. It represents not only the martial excellence of the Spartan warriors, but also the cultural and societal framework that supported and celebrated their achievements. The rituals surrounding the red cloak highlight the importance of tradition, honor, and unity in Spartan society. As we reflect on the legacy of the red cloak, it is essential to recognize the broader implications of this symbol. It teaches us about the values that were cherished by the Spartans and the lengths to which they went to uphold them. The red cloak is a testament to the power of symbols in shaping cultural identity and fostering a sense of belonging. The red cloak was a symbol of a Spartan warrior's bravery, honor, and sacrifice. It was worn during battles to intimidate enemies and signify their unwavering commitment to their city-state. The red dye used to color the cloak was extracted from the madder plant, a labor-intensive process that required boiling the plant in water and then mixing it with other substances to achieve the desired shade. The tradition of wearing a red cloak dates back to the 8th century BCE, when the Spartans adopted it from the Persians, who wore red cloaks as a symbol of nobility and power. The red cloak was reserved for the bravest and most skilled warriors who had proven themselves in battle. It was a badge of honor, and only those who had earned it were allowed to wear it. Before donning the red cloak, Spartan warriors would undergo a ritual of purification, which involved bathing, sacrificing animals, and praying to the gods to ensure their protection and success in battle. The red cloak was made of wool, which made it heavy and cumbersome. Warriors had to be strong and agile to wear it comfortably during battles. The red cloak was also a symbol of the warrior's willingness to sacrifice his life for his city-state. It was a reminder that death in battle was a noble and honorable fate. The red cloak required regular maintenance to maintain its color and quality. Warriors would often wash and re-dye it after battles to remove dirt and bloodstains. The tradition of the red cloak continued until the 4th century CE, when the Roman Empire conquered Greece and the Spartans lost their independence. The red cloak remains an enduring symbol of Spartan bravery and honor, inspiring generations of warriors and historians alike. The red cloak's iconic status has inspired marketers and brand managers to incorporate similar symbols and rituals into their campaigns. From sports teams to consumer products, the red cloak's association with bravery and honor has become a powerful marketing tool. The red cloak's connection to sacrifice and selflessness has inspired philanthropists and charity organizations to adopt similar values. The red cloak has become a metaphor for giving back to the community and making a positive impact on society. The red cloak's dramatic and symbolic significance has inspired artists, writers, and filmmakers to create works that pay homage to the Spartan warriors' legacy. From movies like 300 to literature like The Spartans by Earl Bradford, the red cloak continues to captivate audiences worldwide. The red cloak's connection to military and law enforcement has led to the adoption of similar symbols and rituals. For instance, the red beret worn by the U.S. Army's Special Forces is a modern equivalent of the Spartan warrior's red cloak. The red cloak's association with bravery, honor, and sacrifice has inspired sports teams and athletes to adopt similar symbols and rituals. For example, the red jersey worn by the New York Yankees baseball team is a nod to the Spartan warrior's red cloak. In conclusion, the ritual behind a Spartan warrior's red cloak is a captivating aspect of ancient Greek history. It encapsulates the essence of Spartan society, its discipline, valor, and commitment to collective excellence. Through the dedication ceremony and the wearing of the red cloak, Spartan warriors affirmed their loyalty to their city-state and their readiness to face any challenge. This legacy continues to inspire and intrigue us, offering valuable insights into the enduring power of symbols and traditions in human history. You've probably heard the iconic tales of King Leonidas and his legendary 300 warriors at the Battle of Thermopylae, a fierce stand against the Persian army. It's easy to romanticize these stories as mere accounts of bravery and honor, but what if I told you that the most profound sacrifice Leonidas made went far beyond the battlefield? What was Leonidas really sacrificing when he chose to stay behind? As we delve deeper, we uncover layers of personal and collective sacrifice that shape our understanding of heroism. For Leonidas, it wasn't just about the clash of swords or the honor of dying a warrior's death. His choice to remain at Thermopylae meant condemning his family to a life without him. Imagine being a father and husband, knowing you would never see your loved ones again. This inner conflict adds a human element to the legendary warrior, transforming him from a mere historical figure into a relatable, tragic hero. Yet there's more at stake than personal loss. Leonidas was acutely aware that his sacrifice served a greater purpose. He wasn't just fighting for his own honor, he was fighting for the unity of the Greek city-states. By standing his ground, he aimed to buy crucial time for others to rally against the impending Persian threat. It was a strategic sacrifice, one that displayed foresight and selflessness. He understood that his actions would send ripples through history, inspiring future generations to stand up against tyranny. This brings us to a critical insight. Leonidas was not merely a warrior. Now, consider the implications of this choice. Leonidas gave up any hope of personal glory for the sake of something far more valuable: his legacy. He fought for the ideals of freedom and resistance, setting a powerful example that echoes through history. The image of him standing firm against insurmountable odds is a lesson in courage and commitment to a cause. But here's the twist. While most people think of Leonidas as a fearless warrior, the reality is that his greatest victory came from embracing vulnerability, the willingness to sacrifice everything for a future that was not his own. In conclusion, as we peel back the layers of King Leonidas' sacrifice, we begin to understand that true heroism lies not in grand displays of bravery alone, but in the quieter, more profound choices that define our lives and legacies. What starts as a tale of battle transforms into a rich narrative of personal sacrifice and the pursuit of a higher cause. The question remains, how does this understanding of sacrifice reshape your view of heroism? Spartans were renowned not just for their formidable skills on the battlefield, but also for their complex and often tumultuous relationship with the helots, the enslaved population that supported their military-focused society. Most people think of Spartans as simply powerful warriors, but the reality is much more nuanced. How did a revolt by their own slaves lead to one of Sparta's most overlooked sacrifices? To understand this, we need to dig into the societal structure of Sparta. Helots outnumbered Spartans significantly, creating the precarious balance of power. This was a constant source of tension, as the Spartans relied on helot labor to maintain their way of life. They needed helots to farm the land and support their military ambitions, but they also lived in fear of rebellion. The underlying conflict between the two groups set the stage for a dramatic showdown that would force Spartan leaders to confront their vulnerabilities. When a major helot revolt erupted, Spartan leaders faced a critical choice. They could have responded with brute force, attempting to crush the uprising and reassert their dominance, but instead, they opted for a more calculated approach. They made secret peace deals with some of the helots to protect their city from total collapse. This surprising decision marked a significant sacrifice on the part of the Spartans, sacrificing their grip on control and dominance to ensure their survival. Imagine being a Spartan warrior, raised to believe in absolute strength and superiority, yet being forced to compromise with those you considered beneath you. The real sacrifice here was not just tactical, it was a blow to Spartan pride. These proud warriors, known for their uncompromising nature, found themselves navigating a delicate dance of survival. Instead of upholding their warrior reputation, they chose the safety and continuity of their society. This compromise, rare in their history, showed a different side of Spartan heroism, one that prioritized the collective over individual pride. As we reflect on the implications of the Helot revolt, it becomes clear that the sacrifices made during this time went beyond the battlefield. Spartans had to grapple with the uncomfortable truth that their very survival depended on the delicate balance of power they maintained with the helots. They learned that true strength doesn't always come from rigid control, but sometimes from the ability to adapt and compromise. This pivotal moment in Spartan history illustrates that heroism can also mean sacrificing one's pride for the greater good, a lesson that resonates even today. From a young age, Spartan boys were taken from their families and thrust into the agoge, a rigorous and often brutal military training program designed to mold them into elite warriors. Most people envision this system as merely a rite of passage, a way to create fearsome fighters for the state. But what if I told you that this childhood spent in training represents one of the greatest sacrifices in Spartan society? The agoge was not just about training, it was about survival in a world where weakness could lead to death, not just for the boys, but for Sparta itself. Boys as young as 7 were removed from their families, leaving behind the warmth of home for a harsh, regimented life. In this intense environment, they learned to survive in brutal conditions, where failure could mean losing everything. The very fabric of their childhood was ripped away, replaced with relentless discipline and expectations of excellence. The emotional toll on families was immense. Imagine the heartbreak of a Spartan mother watching her son march away into a world of hardship, never knowing if he would return. This was not merely a loss of childhood, it was a profound separation that would impact families for generations. The boys were trained to suppress their emotions, to embrace suffering, and to give up personal desires for the needs of the state. It was a life marked by sacrifice, and sometimes it cost them their very lives. But here lies the real mystery. While many see this training as a path to glory, the true sacrifice was the abandonment of individual freedom. Spartan boys were conditioned to serve the state above all else, with their existence entirely dedicated to becoming warriors. They were stripped of their identities as children, molded instead into instruments of the Spartan military machine. Their very being became a form of sacrifice, one that most wouldn't fully grasp until they were thrust into the chaos of battle. In essence, the agoge created not just warriors, but a culture of sacrifice. The young Spartans learned that their lives were not their own. They existed for the glory of Sparta. Each boy who entered the agoge was not just preparing for battle, but was engaging in an unspoken contract of sacrifice, one that defined their entire existence. As we reflect on this rigorous training system, it becomes evident that the legacy of the agoge is a testament to the complexities of Spartan heroism and the immense costs of their way of life. Spartan society was built on a foundation of sacrifice, and one of the most significant aspects of this was the agoge system. The agoge was more than just a training program. It was a brutal rite of passage that defined what it meant to be a Spartan. Most people think of the agoge as simply a path to becoming a soldier, but the reality is much darker. How did this training system come to represent one of the greatest sacrifices in Spartan life? When young boys entered the agoge at the tender age of 7, they left their families behind and entered a harsh world where survival was a constant battle. Imagine being a child, ripped from the safety of home and thrust into a regime that demanded total obedience and strength. Spartan boys faced physical hardship, emotional turmoil, and the constant pressure to succeed in a competitive environment. They learned to endure pain and hardship, but at what cost? Their childhoods vanished, replaced by grueling training that would shape their bodies and minds into weapons of war. The emotional impact on these boys and their families was profound. Parents had to grapple with the fear and uncertainty of sending their sons away, unsure if they would return as warriors or victims of the relentless training. This sacrifice wasn't just about physical prowess, it was an emotional toll that echoed through Spartan households. The reality is that many boys didn't survive the agoge. Some fell victim to the harsh conditions or the brutal training methods, losing their lives before they even had a chance to fight in battle. As they progressed through the agoge, these boys were conditioned to prioritize the needs of the state over their individual desires. They were taught that their existence was not their own. They lived to serve Sparta. This idea of sacrificing personal freedom for the greater good became a core principle of Spartan identity. Most people view this as a noble sacrifice for the state, but in truth, it was a systematic erasure of their childhood, individuality, and autonomy. The agoge thus represents a paradox, a process designed to create elite warriors that simultaneously stripped away the very essence of childhood. This rite of passage created men who were not only physically physically capable but mentally conditioned to embrace suffering as a way of life. It's a sobering reminder of what Spartan society demanded: absolute loyalty and sacrifice in exchange for the privilege of serving one of the most militaristic cultures in history. As we consider this sacrifice, we begin to see the complexities of what it meant to be a Spartan, a journey that came at a steep price. As we reflect on the sacrifices of the Spartans, it becomes clear that their heroism extends far beyond the battlefield. These stories challenge our traditional views of bravery and valor. So, what do these sacrifices teach us? Spartan heroism wasn't just about dying in battle. It was about giving up comfort, pride, and even family for something greater than oneself. Take, for example, the sacrifice of King Leonidas at Thermopylae. Many see him as a fearless warrior, but the reality is he was also a devoted husband and father who knowingly condemned his family to a life without him. His choice was not merely a heroic last stand. It was a selfless act meant to unify the Greek city-states against a common enemy. This deeper understanding of his sacrifice reframes how we view courage, illustrating that true heroism often comes with personal cost. Then there's the Helot revolt, a pivotal moment that forced the Spartans to confront their internal struggles. Most people think Spartans were unyielding conquerors, but the reality is that they faced an uprising that threatened their very existence. By sacrificing their grip on control, they demonstrated a remarkable capacity for compromise, a rarity in their warrior culture. This willingness to adapt and protect their society, even at the cost of their pride, highlights a different side of Spartan leadership, revealing that survival sometimes requires humility. Equally striking is the agoge system, where young boys were stripped of their childhood to become warriors. This grueling process wasn't just a training regimen, it represented a profound sacrifice of innocence. Spartan boys were conditioned to live for the state, learning that their individuality was secondary to their roles as soldiers. This forced separation from family and the emotional toll it took is a poignant reminder of the price paid for Spartan greatness. It's a stark illustration of how societal needs can overshadow personal desires, forcing individuals to forfeit their identities for the collective. In conclusion, the sacrifices made by the Spartans teach us valuable lessons about the complexities of heroism. You've learned that sometimes the most heroic acts aren't the ones drenched in glory. They're the quiet sacrifices that keep a society alive. Next time you think of Spartans, you'll see them as more than just warriors. They were people who sacrificed everything to preserve their way of life. Embracing this broader perspective allows us to appreciate the true essence of sacrifice and the myriad forms it can take in the pursuit of a greater good. If you enjoyed this epic journey, please subscribe to our channel for more thrilling historical tales. Don't miss out on new videos. Hit the notification bell to stay updated.